Hello, I think this is all working. It's been a while since I've done this, so you may have to bear with me. But yes, hi, it's another live stream, and my light may blow up at any second, but hopefully it won't. Yeah, so why am I doing this? Well, I'm home alone and bored out of my mind, so I thought now is as good a time as any to set up my camera and just do a random live video and talk to you guys about absolutely anything. It could be Doctor Who, it could be my life, um, you name it, and we'll talk about it basically. And God knows how long this will go on for. If not many people join in, then this will be fairly short. Um, and if the opposite happens and quite a few people talk, then obviously this will go on for quite a while, but hopefully no longer than an hour. Hello, Random Anime Fan 1412. I hope you're well. Feel free to ask me anything. There's literally no structure to this whatsoever. It's just a random video where we can talk about absolutely anything. Um, just because I'll go mad, otherwise I'll go completely insane. Because it's quite weird being home alone. I like it, don't get me wrong, but after a while I just run out of things to do. Um, so I've just been playing on my PS3 for the past few hours, watched a bit of TV, uh, and now I'm bored. So I'd rather talk to you guys, really. Hello, Casey Link. I hope you're well. Feel free to talk to me about absolutely anything. Ask me anything. Because otherwise it's just going to be me sat here not really knowing what to talk about. Um, in case you guys didn't already know, recently I got this on DVD. Doctor Who, well, Blu-ray, I should say. Doctor Who Season 18, Tom Baker's final season. So I'm very excited to watch this at some point. I haven't actually begun watching it yet, just because I'm currently going on a Marvel binge. We all know that Avengers Endgame is coming out on the 25th of April, and on the 25th of March, I randomly decided to set myself the challenge to watch every single one of the Marvel Cinematic Universe films before Endgame comes out, which is quite a challenge considering there's 22 films. But no, I'm doing well on that. I'm steadily going through them. So I'm watching them, and then eventually I'll get round to this Blu-ray. But in case you guys were not aware of what it looks like, this is the back. I'm not sure how much of that you can see, but basically you get loads of special features, audio commentaries, behind the sofa. That's a lot of fun, because I've got the season 19 Blu-ray as well, and I've been going through the special features on that. And behind the sofa, I just love it. It's exactly like Gogglebox, if any of you guys are aware of that program. And it's just really cool to see the cast watch their stories back all these years later and rip into them if they're bad stories, or reminisce about the good times if it's stories that they enjoy. But yeah, anyway, so in case you wanted to see the inside, it is absolutely beautiful. So you should be able to see this lovely bit of artwork here. And then this opens up, even more beautiful artwork of Tom Baker thinking about something. And then you open that up and you have the same artwork, but this time on a handy booklet. And I do like these booklets, actually. So it begins with a nice foreword by Tom Baker, I believe. Nope, it's just a general foreword. And then it talks about each of the stories. And it's very, like, considering it doesn't go into much detail about them, you do get quite a lot of information. Like, well, first of all, it says what's on the DVDs. Then it says the development of the stories, how they were received at the time, like what the viewing figures were like. Then you get an after image section, which is, I think, generally novelizations of many of the stories. It briefly talks about that. And yeah, so that's quite a cool little feature. And then, if I can close this up, you've obviously got the discs, and each one has got its own artwork, which is really cool as well. So for any of you that have Blu-ray players, I would thoroughly recommend you get this. The only issue is they can be quite pricey. That's the problem. Oh, lovely. Right, so we've got more people joining in the chat. So hello to Dave H. Hello to the Scamp. Dave H asks, what's your favourite new movie? Very good question, Dave. New movie. What have I seen recently? I've seen Captain Marvel. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Although I wouldn't say it's my favourite origin story, to be honest. That's another question in itself, actually. What's my favourite Marvel Cinematic Universe origin story? I'll try and answer that later on. But new movie. Please do elaborate if you're still here, Dave H. What do you mean by new movie? Do you mean past year? New movie that I've watched? For now, unless you tell me otherwise, I'm going to assume you mean just a generic new movie that came out in the past year. And suddenly, all of them have gone out of my head. Captain Marvel, Glass was good. I saw that in January. That stars James McAvoy, Bruce Willis, and Samuel L. Jackson. And it ends a trilogy of films from a famous director called M. Night Shyamalan. That was very good. So I suppose Glass is up there. That's a movie I've really enjoyed. I suppose, yeah, looking back on the past year, Avengers Infinity War blew my socks off. It was just such an epic film, and obviously that ending as well, how half of the cast die. Well, half of the universe, well, half of the planet Earth just turn into dust. That was a complete shocker of an ending. Yeah, so that movie I absolutely love as well. Casey Link, can't wait for Endgame. Me neither. I really want to see it as soon as possible to the release date. I haven't I haven't tried to pre-order tickets for the first day because basically a friend was thinking of organising a midnight showing for it, which, don't get me wrong, I'd love that to happen, but it would mean we'd be up until at least 3 a.m. And I'm not sure if I want to watch the film when I'm really tired. So we'll have to see if that happens. But yeah, at the very least, I do want to see it within the first week of it being released. Mainly out of excitement, but also there are going to be some idiots out there that will just try to spoil the film for everyone, which I cannot be doing with because I want to go into this film completely blind and not knowing what's going to happen. Mark out media. You'll go mad alone. You better check the spring in your fast return switch. I like it. Casey Link, could Doctor Who beat Thanos? Very good question. I think so. The Doctor can defeat most villains and massive threats to the universe. Like, he's saved the universe many a time now. And even though Thanos is this very powerful figure, I'm pretty sure if the Doctor got involved, Thanos could easily be wiped out. I don't know how the Doctor would defeat him exactly. And actually, for that matter, I have no idea how the Avengers will defeat Thanos either, which is part of the reason I'm really looking forward to the film. Casey Link, when Infinity War and Endgame are released, that will be a 5 hour and 40 minute mega movie. Jesus. See, I knew they were long films, but I'd never actually thought about how long they are if put together. Um, 5 hours and 40 minutes. Jesus. Yeah, that is some marathon right there. My God. Um, but yeah, no, I'm really pleased that Endgame is going to be 3 hours long. Because for one thing, that means we effectively get two movies in one. But also, I like to think it means there's not going to be many deleted scenes for this film. Hopefully, the directors, Anthony and Joe Russo, have managed to make the film that they want without having to take many scenes out for timing purposes. That's my hope anyway. I'm sure there's always bound to be deleted scenes with a film, but I'm hoping there's not many of them, and most of them are actually going to be in this finished film. Hello to Random Who videos. So as I keep saying, feel free to ask me anything or talk about absolutely anything with me. It could be Doctor Who related, it could be Marvel related, because it seems to be quite a Marvel orientated chat at the moment, which I'm fine with. I'm happy to talk about anything. But yeah, just it could be anything. And then once people stop talking or asking questions, I'll get the hint and I'll stop the live stream. But hopefully we can keep going for a while. Casey Link asks, what was I playing on the PS3? Thank you for asking, Casey Link. I was playing Call of Duty Black Ops, which is a game I've owned ever since it first came out back in 2010. Really liked it, but it was a game that I never played the multiplayer on for some reason. I think at the time, the only multiplayer game I played was the previous Call of Duty, which was Modern Warfare 2, and I loved that, and I was addicted to the multiplayer. But then after a couple of years, people just stopped playing it online. And nowadays, I've checked the other day to see if anyone is still playing the game, and it just says 0 all the time. Just no one plays it whatsoever, which I can't believe. But yeah, no, so Black Ops, despite being a game that's 9 years old now, people still play that. So I don't know why I randomly thought about this, but in the past week, I randomly decided to start playing the game again. And I do Team Deathmatch on it and a thing called Gun Game, which is a lot of fun. Basically, you all start off with a rubbish gun, and then for every kill you get a better gun. And then the first person to get 20 kills wins fictional money. So I quite enjoy that, and I have managed to win several times, which I've obviously been delighted with. But yeah, so that's what I was playing. The Scamp. I want to rewatch all of new Doctor Who, but what's putting me off is the thought of having to see all the bad episodes. Interesting. Well, it's your marathon. Who's to say that you have to watch the bad episodes if you don't want to? That's the way I look at it, at least. Because actually, yeah, come to think of it, I would love to rewatch all the episodes as well. It's just when to do that, I don't know. Because, as I said, I'm currently in the middle of a Marvel binge, so that's taken up a lot of my evenings. And then I'm quite busy during the day as well. And yeah, when you think about it, I think, was it, yeah, New Who you said. Even New Who has got over 150 episodes. So, and the average episode length is about 45 minutes. I can't do the maths in my head, but that's a lot of hours, basically. A lot more than the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So it will take a long time to get through that. And if you want to make that time shorter, just cut out the bad episodes. No one's forcing you to watch them. It's your marathon. You watch whatever episodes you want, and you can skip all the bad ones if you feel that's necessary. Random Who videos. If Torchwood were to come back, do you think the BBC would pick it back up or another company? Would the BBC pick it up or another company? Well, I'm not an expert on copyright and who owns Torchwood, but I'm pretty sure only the BBC is allowed to bring it back. Or at least only Russell T Davies is allowed to bring it back. Yeah, so I think if people did have a whole series idea for a new series of Torchwood, they would have to run it by the BBC and Russell T Davies, maybe Chris Chibnall as well. Although I don't think Chris Chibnall was in charge of it towards the end of its run. I really don't know, to be honest. But I would like Torchwood to come back. I wouldn't necessarily want it to involve the characters seen in Miracle Day. Not necessarily because they're bad characters, because they were okay. I'm really struggling to remember their names because it's been such a long time ago now since I saw Miracle Day. But I think there was a guy called Rex, and then a blonde woman who died, and then was there a second woman? I don't know. But yeah, Rex. He was an okay character, but it's that whole cliffhanger ending of, spoiler alert, by the way, in case any of you guys haven't seen Miracle Day yet. At the end of episode 10 of Miracle Day, Rex finds out he's immortal, just like Captain Jack, which is something that I didn't really like at the time and still don't now. Oh, do not knock that. Yeah, because it makes Jack less unique, being the only person that's immortal. And also, I think, I forget the exact reasoning why Rex is now immortal, but I think it's something to do with Jack's blood. I think he had a blood transfusion, and so his body now contains some of Jack Harkness's blood and DNA, and somehow that allows him to be immortal. And I just don't buy that. I don't like it myself. Rebel Hoovian. I'm currently doing a marathon of the MCU. Hey, just like me. So I'll be watching a Marvel film every day till Endgame. I was just wondering if you'll be watching all or some of the MCU films in preparation for the film. Yes, so as I said earlier, Rebel Hoovian, you probably missed this part of the chat. I am doing exactly the same as you. I started on the 25th of March, exactly a month before Endgame is due to be released. And I haven't exactly got a structure, besides the fact of trying to go in order if I can. But yeah, generally I'm watching 6 of them a week. Well, 5 or 6 of them a week. So pretty much every day I'm watching one. I'm currently up to Guardians of the Galaxy. I watched Thor: The Dark World last night and Captain America: The Winter Soldier with family last week. So I'm halfway through phase 2 now, and I've got about, I think, just over 3 weeks to watch however many films are left. So I am steadily going through them, but it's just crazy to think that Marvel, in the space of 11 years, have done 22 films. That is such a brilliant achievement. And of those 22, even though there are some weaker ones, I still enjoy them. There's not a single film that I can think of that I actively despise. So that's a really good sign that Marvel knows what it's doing, basically. Casey Link says that Black Ops is their favourite Call of Duty game. I can totally see why, especially in the past week since I've started doing the multiplayer some more. It has, my opinion of it has grown a lot. I always did enjoy the campaign and the zombies mode, but the multiplayer, I didn't I didn't really rate it until I'd properly become addicted to it, as I am now. Dave H, Do you like any sports? Not really. I am quite a lazy sod. I suppose I do like swimming, but then that doesn't really count as a sport. Badminton is okay, I suppose. Tennis as well. Really, any of the sports where you hit a ball but don't kick it. I despise football. It's all I ever did in PE. I never liked it then, and my opinion of it just worsened from the fact that it's all we ever did at school. Basketball's okay. Yeah, my big issue is just I don't do enough sports. So it's all well and good me saying I like this, I like that. But the fact is, I don't actually go outside and play these sports. I just sit indoors making videos, playing games, playing Call of Duty, and watching my Marvel Cinematic Universe films. Random Who videos. Thinks Black Ops is the best of the Black Ops series. They did enjoy Black Ops 2, but didn't really enjoy Black Ops 3. Yeah, so in terms of the Black Ops franchise, I've only got the first two games myself. So what number are they up to now? Is it 4? Jesus. I really thought the franchise would end after the third one. I didn't think they would drag out the Black Ops like title beyond that, but they have. But yeah, no, Black Ops 2 I like as well. In terms of campaign, I think Black Ops 1 is better. In terms of multiplayer, I would say Black Ops 1 again, just because that's what I'm currently addicted to. But in terms of zombies, I actually prefer Black Ops 2. I really like the map with the bus. I think it's called Transit. And when I was at university, the amount of nights I spent with some friends playing through that and trying to see how many rounds we can survive through. We just had so many great memories on that. Whereas with Black Ops 1, we never really did that. Well, it didn't have a bus for a start. I think the bus was one of the things we loved about it. But yeah, no, the zombies is still good on Black Ops 1. But for me personally, I just much preferred being able to drive from location to location on Black Ops 2. Looking for an original username? Good username. They ask, do you play new games? If so, have you played Doom? Yeah, so I do try to play new games when I can. I'm just looking at my PS4 games over there. Bear with me. So, in September, I bought a relatively new game called Detroit Become Human, which I honestly think is one of my favourite games of all time. For those of you that don't know, it's essentially a choice-based game, a bit like the Netflix adventure Black Mirror Bandersnatch, for those of you who are familiar with it. So yeah, throughout the game you get to do different dialogue choices and different actions, and because of that you can get not only different endings to the game, but different endings to the individual levels as well. So you've got whole flow charts trying to break down the different options you can make. And yeah, even though I finished the game all the way back in like October, I still play it to this day, trying to explore as many pathways as possible. And yet, even the story is really good. You basically control 3 different androids, and they've each got their own story arc, and it's a lot of fun. So, if any of you guys have got a PS4 and are wanting a new game to play, please do check out Detroit Become Human. The Scamp. Oh, a nice Doctor Who question. Do you think Jodie will wear a different outfit in Doctor Who the next season? Bear with while I have another drink. I hate this, how my voice always goes soon after beginning a live stream. I don't know how I can fix it. But anyway, so to answer your question, I think what's most likely to happen is that she'll wear different variations of her costume. So like a different shirt, maybe a different coat, different coloured braces maybe, those sorts of things. But the actual costume itself, this get-up basically, will more or less stay the same. And really, that's what I want, because I quite like it when a Doctor's outfit stays consistent. So to give you an example of when I wasn't exactly happy, in Peter Capaldi's second series, Series 9, his costume changed every episode. 1 minute he was in a velvet suit, then he was wearing a hoodie. He had these tartan trousers for a couple of episodes as well, and then casual shirts, and it just kept changing around. Oh God, my poor voice. Yeah, and that really frustrates me for some reason. I know it shouldn't, it's just a costume at the end of the day. But I think it bugged me with Peter Capaldi because I absolutely adored his sort of stark navy suit, white shirt that's buttoned up with a high collar. I loved that look, and I loved how his look was more or less consistent throughout the entirety of Series 8. So it was just a bit of a surprise. Oh my God. If my voice doesn't get better, guys, I may have to wrap up the live stream, I'm afraid. Hopefully, I will survive. But yeah, Series 9, I just didn't like how essentially there wasn't a single run of 2 episodes where the costumes stayed the same. Hiccups as well, great. This is not going well. Casey Link, next season is still a year away. Still odd they would do that. Yeah, don't even get me started on that. I am a firm believer that there should be a new Doctor Who season every year. Jesus. Sorry about this, guys. I do apologise. I don't want to be coughing on this live stream. But there's just something happens to my voice. Maybe it's the fact that I'm talking non-stop, but it just goes. It just dies. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. So, no Doctor Who in 2019, basically. Yeah, I just feel like casual viewers would completely lose interest in the show. And obviously we don't want that, because then the ratings go down, and then, dare I say it, but if the ratings become really low, then the show will get cancelled again. That's the facts, really. I'm sure, well, I'm hopeful at least, that this won't happen for a while. But obviously there is that big controversy about how good or bad Doctor Who Series 11 was. And that probably put some of the audience off as well, and they may not be willing to come back. And I just want Doctor Who to live as long as possible, really. So I want it to always be good, obviously, and I do feel like it should be on every year so that it's always in audiences' minds, and people always have a new episode to look forward to, and no massive year-long gaps in between them. The Scamp was also thinking of skipping all the bad episodes in their New Who marathon. Good to know. Matthew Jess was wondering if I would like to check a podcast they do with a friend. They review the MCU before Endgame and hope to discuss Doctor Who soon. It is called Movie Mates. Episode 1 is MCU. Sure thing, yeah. I always like listening to podcasts and watching new videos, so feel free to send me a link to that, because no doubt I will forget the title by the time this live stream finishes. Rebel Hoovian, are you watching the MCU films in release order or chronological order? So, generally, I'm trying to watch them in release order, seeing as for the most part, I think that is also chronological order. But weirdly enough, before starting my marathon of watching them all, I'd actually gone back over and watched the first Captain America just out of the blue with my family. And then, soon after that, I went to the cinema to see Captain Marvel. So, strangely enough, without even planning it, so far I have been watching them in chronological order as well. So that's been quite fun seeing. Well, I don't want to spoil anything for those who haven't seen Captain Marvel yet. Yeah, no, there's no point me carrying on with that point. But basically, it pays off seeing Captain America, then Captain Marvel, and then Iron Man. That's all I'll say. Uh, Doctor Who Memories has just joined. What's occurring? Well, we're doing a random live stream, Doctor Who Memories, just because I'm home alone, bored out of my mind, and I was hoping to have a nice discussion with you guys. And hopefully you guys, everyone that's here at the moment, are enjoying yourselves. But yeah, feel free to keep firing questions at me or talk about your own lives as well. Any videos or podcasts you want me to check out. Um, just just talk to me. That's all I want. The Scamp, did you see Jenna Coleman in the Captain America film? Yes, I did indeed. And I love how she has a small cameo in that before she became Clara. Yeah, it's something I always look forward to now whenever I rewatch the film. The Scamp, my favourite Marvel films are the X-Men films. Do you like them? Right, so X-Men. Thank you for starting this topic. Just bear with me while I try to get my voice back. So, X-Men. Let's see how much I can say about this topic, because I've got a lot of opinions on it, but obviously I don't want to bore everyone who doesn't care about my thoughts on the X-Men. So, for the most part, I do enjoy the X-Men films. Not as much as the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I do think on the whole, I prefer them to the vast majority of the DC extended universe films. What my problem with X-Men is that the films don't really tie in well together. It's not a cinematic universe like Marvel. And that's beginning to frustrate me, to be honest. So, a good example of this is you look at the Wolverine trilogy. The first one. Oh, how do I explain it? Basically, the end of X-Men Days of Future Past. Forget what I was saying about the Wolverine trilogy now. That point was going nowhere. At the end of X-Men Days of Future Past, it's established that mutants have been saved. Loads of characters who have died before have been saved as well and are now living again. And it's all happy days. And yet, the next film taking place in the present day or future, which is Logan, then establishes that most of the X-Men have died. So it's like, what was the point of undoing everything the Sentinels had done, killing off all these mutants, if by the time of the next film, Logan, most of the mutants are dead again, if that makes sense. So it's things like that that bug me. And then obviously Days of Future Past also rebooted the timeline. So a lot of the old films haven't actually occurred now. So that, I don't know, you could take that in two ways. If it's a film that's bad, like X-Men The Last Stand, then that's fine that that's been retconned. But then it's also got rid of films like the first X-Men and the second one. Yeah, so that frustrates me. But that being said, X-Men First Class is one of my favourite films of all time. X-Men Days of Future Past, even though I have moaned about it, I do love that film as well. X-Men 2 is quite good. Logan is really good, even though it does kill off all the mutants. But yeah, so in a nutshell, I think the X-Men films are a bit of a mixed bag. Mixed bag. Some films are great, some are good, some are average, a couple are dreadful. X-Men Origins and X-Men 3 in particular. But the problem I have with it is that they're not really coherent. Casey Link, what I loved about Endgame is that they showed us basically nothing, especially no action scenes. If a normal trailer showed 30% of a movie, for example, Endgame has shown less than 5% of a 3-odd-hour movie. Exactly, yes. And that is a big reason why I am so excited to see Endgame. Because, as you've even said, we know hardly anything going into that. And I just find that really exciting. Doctor Who Memories. Who's your favourite Who-tuber? My favourite is you. Oh, thank you, Doctor Who Memories. That means a hell of a lot to me, so thank you very much for saying that. And also, very good question, because it changes all the time who my favourite Who-tuber is. At the moment... Oh, you put me on the spot here. There are so many really good Who-tubers out there. But I would say... I think the Doctor Who guide, Alex Patterson. All-round nice guy. Manages to do weekly videos, which is a very difficult feat. So I have a lot of respect for him for that. Makes good quality videos as well. Puts a lot of time and effort into them. Does a lot of research. I've noticed a lot of his videos have some handy stats in them, which is always interesting to see for my mathematical mind. And yeah, they're thoroughly enjoyable videos, I find. Dave H. Detroit is a good game. My favourite game is Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, yes, Red Dead Redemption 2. I've heard many a good thing about that. So much so that I'm actually tempted to get it myself, despite not actually completing the first one yet. I have got it on PS3, but I only bought it recently, and it's a game that's sort of been sat there on my shelf gathering dust that I've sort of left alone while I play PS4 games. But yeah, no, I've heard really good things about Red Dead Redemption 2. And also I think it's a game that you can get loads of hours out of, and any game that you can get at least 30 hours out of is something that I have a lot of respect for, because it means you get a lot of value for your money. So that's all cool. Casey Link. It's strange to think the PS5 is going to release next year. I still remember getting the PS1 for Christmas. Is it next year the PS5 is coming out? I was not aware of that myself. To be honest, I hope you're wrong there, because personally, I don't see the point of the PS5. At least at the moment. Maybe I'm missing some big technological improvement that it has over the PS4, but I'm very happy with my PS4 at the moment. I think the graphics are great. It does everything I want and more. I love the fact that you can play games with headphones plugged into the controller. That is some technology that I'm just still impressed by all these years later. And I don't really know what the PS5 can do more than that. So yeah, if the PS5 does come out next year, I know for a fact I won't be getting it for a while. I'll put it off as long as possible. But obviously, if a game I really want comes out on that console, I may have to reevaluate my strategy and invest in one. But hopefully it won't come to that. Doctor Who Memories. Do you prefer blue or Doctors? I see what you did there. I prefer the colour blue, because Doctors, well, unless you mean the Doctor, Doctors you generally see when you're ill, and I'd rather avoid that if possible. And blue is a really good colour. The Scamp has asked a very interesting question about marriage. If they were both available to marry you, which one would you choose? Jenna Coleman or Jodie Whittaker? This is a no-brainer to me. as much as I like both actresses and think they're beautiful, it has to be Jenna Coleman. I've always fancied her ever since she was announced as the new Doctor Who companion. She's closer to my age as well, as far as I'm aware. I think she's 30, she's early 30s, I think, whereas Jodie is mid 30s. So I think they're quite close in age, but Jenna's just that bit younger. But yeah, has to be Jenna Coleman. Absolutely adore her. Dave H has asked a nice Spider-Man question. I do like my Spider-Man. Who is your favourite actor to play Spider-Man? So this is a tough one because Tobey Maguire is my Spider-Man, as in he's the one I grew up with. Um, the very first Spider-Man films I saw were the original Spider-Man trilogy, and I saw them while I was a kid. Um, but then at the same time, I think Tom Holland is the best actor to play Peter Parker in Spider-Man. So it's between those two. But you did, to be fair, ask who's my favourite actor. So I would have to go with Tobey Maguire. Um, I just love his performance in all three of the Spider-Man films, and even the awkward bits like the emo dance and pizza time and all the other meme-worthy moments. I just love them to bits, and I just think he's such a lovable guy. Um, yeah, so that's my answer. Looking for an original username asks if I've ever played Mortal Kombat. I haven't, I'm afraid. And to be honest, I'm not sure if I ever will, because from what I know of the game, it's quite a violent one that's gory. Am I right in saying? Um, and even though I like to think I'm sort of okay with gore, I do try to stay away from horror games if I can help it. Just looking at the games I've got on PS4, I've only got one horror game, and that's The Last of Us, which, even though it is scary in parts, it's a very emotional game as well and story driven. There's a lot of moments where you get to explore the environment you're in and just see the beauty of nature. So it's not all about like zombies attacking you. So technically, I wouldn't count The Last of Us as being a horror game. But yeah, no, horror films I can watch with the volume turned down or muted, but horror games I can't really play. The Scamp doesn't like the DC Universe movies. Um, that's fair enough. Yep, a lot of them have been quite poor. Mainly Suicide Squad, Justice League, even though I still haven't seen that. Batman vs Superman, that was poor. But it is getting better. There have been good films like, well, Shazam is meant to be quite good. Hopefully, I'll be able to see that at some point. Wonder Woman, I really liked as well. Aquaman was apparently really good, but it's another one I haven't seen. About the X-Men films, my favourite is Days of Future Past. Any film with Jennifer Lawrence in is worth watching. Yes, I agree. I do like Jennifer Lawrence as an actress. Um, and yeah, I do find, if I recall correctly, most films, or in fact all films that I've seen that have Jennifer Lawrence in, are ones that I really enjoy. I recently watched Passengers for the first time, which is basically a two-hander film between her and Chris Pratt, and I loved it. I thought both of them did a really good job of acting in that one. And The Hunger Games I've always liked. I've said before, X-Men First Class is one of my favourite films of all time, and a lot of my enjoyment of that film comes from knowing it's one of Jennifer Lawrence's first roles. So it's quite nice seeing her at an early stage of her career. Yeah, so she's a good actress, I think. The Scamp loves the Spider-Man films. Good to know. The Scamp also asks, what's your favourite chocolate bar? Oh, I'd like to say it's a tough one to answer, but the chocolate bar that I eat the most, especially in the past 4 years, is toffee crisp. So it would be treacherous of me to not pick that one as my favourite. Looking for an original username doesn't say. Let me start again. Looking for an original username says that the PS5 doesn't have a confirmed release date. That's what I thought, yeah. Uh, Dave H thinks the PS5 will be more VR games. Okay, that's fair enough. Looking for an original username, hopes that VR won't be the focus. Casey Link, PS5 isn't coming next year, but everything says it is, from rumours to Sony saying it's soon. To tech release and how Sony is conducting themselves with skipping E3 and that. Interesting. Looking for an original username, thinks that the PS5 is probably going to handle up to 120 frames per second and a resolution higher than 4K, because there's no point of a new console if they don't add those things. Yeah, I agree. And it sort of links into what I was saying before. I'd only understand the PS5 being released if it's a genuine improvement on what the PS4 can already do. And for me, all I ever wanted was good graphics, the ability to play with headphones in, a wireless controller, which we've had since, well, the PS2 really. And yeah, now that I've got all those things, I'm quite happy for the PS4 to be the last console in the PlayStation range. But that's just me. Matthew Jess, you are one of my favourite YouTubers. Keep up the great work, buddy. Thank you very much. It's messages like that that keep me going, so thank you. I do really appreciate that. The Scamp, have you rewatched any of Doctor Who season 11 yet? I haven't, I'm ashamed to admit. I haven't done that deliberately. I haven't done it because I despise series 11. On the contrary, I think a lot of the episodes were good and I would be happy to rewatch them. It's just a case of I've been trying out new programs, and as I keep saying, I'm currently doing a Marvel binge at the moment, so that takes up a lot of time. Yeah, and really, Doctor Who as a program, I haven't been watching recently. There have been the odd episode that I've gone back over. I watched Planet of the Dead the other day, just because I knew the 10-year anniversary was coming up. So I love 10-year anniversaries, and I always try to watch a Doctor Who episode if it's on the 10-year mark. Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. It is an episode I've always enjoyed, and even though I've seen it at least 10 times now, I still enjoy it. But yeah, it seems to be, I just watch random episodes to treat myself, but I haven't, well, what I've wanted to do, a bit like whoever mentioned it earlier, I do want to go back and watch the whole series from the start again, but it's just finding the time to do it. And also it's difficult because I have been going back over series. Like a few months ago, I finished series 5 and then started series 6. So I've gone right in the middle for no apparent reason. So it'll be a bit awkward to revisit those episodes so soon again. Anyway, I'm rambling now. The Scamp. I love the film Passengers. Glad you mentioned it. I'm glad that you also like Passengers. I think it did get good reviews. I hope it got good reviews because I do feel like it deserves it. The Scamp also asks, would you rather eat pizza, Chinese, fish and chips, or McDonald's? Oh, nice food question. Tough one. I'm immediately drawn to pizza and Chinese. McDonald's I've gone off for some reason. I can eat it, but not without complaining nowadays. Fish and chips is okay, and in fact I had that yesterday. But it just doesn't really excite me like the other options do. But I think hand on heart, it has to be pizza. in particular a Domino's. Um, yeah, I just love getting my Meteor pizza from Domino's with my barbecue sauce and cookies for dessert. Just love it. The Scamp, what other actresses do you think are gorgeous? Oh, so many. So many, The Scamp. So, yeah, to start with, Jenna Coleman and Jodie Whittaker, as has already been said. The vast majority of the companions in Doctor Who as well, they're very attractive. People like Billie Piper, Freema Agyeman, Karen Gillan, Pearl Mackie. Not so much Catherine Tate, but that's only because she's like double my age. So I don't know, that it's like fancying my mum. It's just wrong. But no, in terms of non Doctor Who actors, Catherine Jenkins as well. I can see a poster of her on my right, so she immediately came into my mind. Um, who else? Who else? Bear with. Just trying to think. Emma Watson. She's really pretty. Chloe Moritz. How could I forget Chloe Moritz? I've had the biggest crush on her for at least 6 years, I think. At least since when Kick-Ass 2 came out. And she's a really good actress as well, which is another thing I find attractive about people. Yeah, okay, I'll leave it there. I don't want to reel off loads of celebrities. Council of Keeks feels old, presumably because of the fact it's been 10 years since Planet of the Dead. I feel exactly the same, Nathaniel. Council of Geeks also says, sorry to break your heart, but Passengers was not well received. Well, reviewed. Oh, that is a shame. Damn. I'll have to. I want to look into that because I want to see the like Rotten Tomatoes percentage. I'm hoping it's at least 60%. I can live with it if it's anything above that, but I'll be heartbroken if it's below that. But no, I like the film at least, so I guess I should just ignore the reviews on this one. Hello to Oliver Linklater or Ollie Linklater. Dave H, have you tried fish fingers and custard? I have. I have too, as well, Dave H. I tried it. I forget the exact scenario. Basically, I went over to a friend's house many moons ago now to watch Doctor Who, and we decided to try that to make it like a Doctor Who themed event. I think, if my memory serves me correctly, I went over to watch the Series 7 finale, Name of the Doctor. So whenever that aired, back in 2013, that is the first and so far only time that I've tried fish fingers and custard. And in case you were interested, I did like it. Was a very weird sensation having custard and fish fingers in my mouth at the same time, but I did enjoy it. The Scamp. Would you have done the same thing in the Passengers film, woken up the Jennifer Lawrence character? Very good question, The Scamp. Yeah, and I was thinking about this whilst watching the film, actually. I would, to answer your question. And I also like to think that most people would have done the same in Chris Pratt's position. You would just get so lonely being on this spaceship for the rest of your life on your own, basically, and knowing that you could wake up other people if you want at any moment. That would just always niggle in the back of your mind. Yeah, so I definitely would have woken up Jennifer Lawrence. I probably would have woken up some more people as well to have this like friendship group going, and that would have been its own film in itself. Like, I don't know, there could have been some love triangle aspect to the film, or there could have been fights between the two male characters. There That could be an idea for a sequel, actually. Although I doubt anyone would watch it. But yeah, no. So to answer your question, to save myself from being alone for 70 years, I would wake up at least one person, and that would be Jennifer Lawrence. The Scamp Council of Geeks is a great YouTuber. I really enjoyed his recent video where he ate British food. Yep, I completely agree. Council of Geeks is a fantastic YouTuber, and I'm delighted that they have joined in with the chat. I have no idea if you're still here, Nathaniel, but thank you very much for joining in. I have not actually seen his video where he eats British food yet, though, so I'll have to get on and watch that. Casey Link, shame is that Radio Times score? Oh, Rotten Tomatoes. Doesn't matter, as a 2 out of 4 can get a recommend and a 3 out of 4 cannot get one. Not trustworthy enough. Yeah. And really, I know I've already mentioned Rotten Tomatoes and how I want to see what its score for passengers is. I don't actually pay attention to Rotten Tomatoes, especially now that it's had all the controversy with the ratings for Captain Marvel. That's put me off it now. I'm interested in the scores that are given on films' Wikipedia pages. I don't know what the source is for them, but when you go down to the reception section and it says that percentage, wherever that's from, that's what I trust. It's probably going to be Rotten Tomatoes, isn't it? Oh dear. The Scamp, was it really fish fingers and custard that Matt Smith ate, or something else that looked the same? I did know this at one point. I think it wasn't actually fish fingers and custard, but I'm struggling to remember what it actually was that Matt Smith ate. But you've got to feel sorry for him, though, because apparently eating scenes are always difficult to do for actors, because you have to think about the amount of takes they have to do per scene. And so if the camera needs to show an actor eating something, the amount of times they're going to have to eat it over and over again, trying to get the right shot, they'll become full up after that. And in Matt Smith's case, having to eat something as weird as fish fingers and custard, yeah, if it even was fish fingers and custard, that is. Council of Geeks hasn't actually looked at the why do I keep saying Radio Times? Rotten Tomatoes in months. So much happier. Yeah, so I think we should live by Nathaniel's example, really. Just avoid, not the Radio Times, Rotten Tomatoes. Avoid Rotten Tomatoes at all costs, because it's just very biased. I never understood how people could leave reviews before a film even came out. That I just cannot understand whatsoever. And I'm surprised it's taken them this long to remove that option. But what can you do? We live in a broken society, and we have silly things like that going on. The Scamp, how many months wait until Doctor Who Series 12? Is it under a year for sure, do you think? Well, I certainly hope it is, because I cannot wait over a year for more Doctor Who. That is ridiculous. If I remember correctly, various interviews a few months ago, I swear they said something along the lines of it will come back very early in 2020. So in my eyes, at least, that means either January, February or March. So as long as it's in that time frame, we can't really complain. Well, we can complain because I do, as I said earlier, I do feel like Doctor Who should have a season every year. But if it's shown in January, February or March, at least it's not a year and a half until the next series. And at least it means we've got less than a year to go now. And I think that's what... Is that what you were asking? How many months wait do you think? Yeah, so I do like to think, or hope at least, that it will be back by March. But then I also feel like, in the back of my mind, generally Doctor Who series have begun either at Easter time or late September, early October. So I do also think there's a good chance the new series won't air until the beginning of April, whenever Easter falls next year. Um, which I can live with, but it goes back to what I was saying before. It just makes the gap between series even longer. And actually, very quickly, sorry, you've just made me think of something else. What frustrates me most about this gap year is that we won't even have a Christmas or New Year's Day special. And that's the thing I really think Doctor Who should have yearly. Um, my first preference is for Christmas specials because I think that's the perfect time to reel in new viewers, and that's why I wasn't entirely happy that this year we had a New Year's Day special instead. Um, but as long as we have one special, I can't really complain. And so it's really frustrating that not only do we not have a series this year, but we won't even have a Christmas or New Year's Day special. Um, and I just think BBC, they've missed an opportunity there to get more viewers for the holiday period. But enough about that. Council of Geeks is going. Was nice to catch you. Thank you very much for joining, Nathaniel, if you're watching this back. Looking for an original username. Any history with Nintendo? Yeah. So I will be honest. Nintendo, I don't play as much as PS4 and to some regard Xbox. I think the order of the brands that I use goes Sony, Microsoft, then Nintendo. But back in the day, I used quite a lot of Nintendo products actually. The Wii, I was addicted to for years. I played Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort for a lot of my summer holidays instead of going outside. It's quite bad looking back on that, but I enjoyed myself at least. I've got a DSi as well, and I've had that for several years. And whenever my family and I go on holidays, me and my brother get out Mario Kart and have a good old battle on that. So that's a lot of fun. I did own a 3DS at one point, but I hardly played on that, so I sold that quite quickly. Yeah, and that's basically my history with Nintendo. The Scamp, did you hear David Tennant's podcast where he interviewed Jodie? I did indeed, and would thoroughly recommend it for any of you guys who haven't already listened to it. It's available on Spotify and iTunes, I believe. So, and also YouTube, I think. I think some people are actually uploading the entire podcast episodes onto YouTube. So they're quite easy to find. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a fun conversation between two Doctor Who actors, very laid back and casual, and it was also just really interesting to find out more about Jodie Whittaker's life. So I really like that. That's one of my favourite podcast episodes of his, actually, because obviously being a massive Doctor Who, no, not just Doctor Who, but David Tennant fan as well, I've been trying to watch or listen to every single one of the podcast episodes, but a few of them, for the people that I don't really know as much, like John Hamm, there's an actress who did a podcast with him recently, which I haven't watched yet. They're the ones that I put off and don't watch when they come out. Casey Link. Oh my God, I can't believe we've been going for an hour. Jesus. Wow. So I think well, as I said from the very beginning of this video, I'll keep going as long as people ask me things and say things. And then as soon as it stops, I'll wrap up. So if you want this to keep going, keep talking to me. And if you're not fussed, then feel free to just listen from now on. Casey Link, if it did take a break, it shouldn't be only one season in to a new Doctor, especially one that has been a bit split in the fan base. Oh, right, I see what you mean now. Yeah, completely agree. So Jodie Whittaker has only had the one series, and already we've got this massive Doctor Who gap year that will, for all we know, extend a couple of months into 2020 as well. And as I said before, I do worry about the ratings. I do worry that people, especially because of how divisive Series 11 was, I fear that people won't exactly be keen to tune into Series 12. And that's why I was desperate for Series 12 to be shown this year so that it can reassure the audience, like if it's good. If it's bad, then obviously that will worsen the situation. But I'm an optimist at times. I do hope it will be a step up on Series 11. The Scamp, Bradley Walsh, is currently filming his second Doctor Who series. Do you think he may do a third by any chance? Hand on heart, I think no. To be honest, I'm surprised he's even doing this second series because, as far as I'm aware, he was so busy last year doing both The Chase and Doctor Who. I don't think he had any free time basically because Doctor Who shoots for like 9 months, and I think The Chase is about 2 or 3. So he would only get a month, if that, of not having to do any work. So I'm surprised he was quick to sign on to this. But yeah, I do feel like after this series, Chris Chibnall will mix around the companions, and I think he may kill off, hopefully not kill off, but he may get rid of Graham, mostly because Bradley Walsh may die from being overworked in so many years. Dave H, did you play any Pokemon games? If so, what is your favourite? And they add that they love Pokemon. Sadly, Dave, I've never really been that into Pokemon and played it. So that's a very simple answer to that question. The Scamp, do you watch the Who Addicts on YouTube? I do indeed. Although regrettably, I haven't seen every single one of their videos. A lot of them I miss just because I put them off to watch on a different day and then forget about them completely. But they're a very good YouTuber. Definitely up there as one of the best in my eyes. Dave H, have you read any Doctor Who books? Yep, I've read many, and a lot of them. Actually, I think all the ones I currently own are in that part of my shelf there, where the TARDIS is. And recently, if I can quickly get it, the most recent Doctor Who book I've read is this one, Doctor Who Rose, the Target novelisation. And I absolutely adored this. I gave it like a mini review on Twitter. And what I love about it, it's written by Russell T Davies, who also wrote the episode. He adds so much to the episode. Loads of extra characters, extra scenes, extra action as well, like in the battle that the Autons do at the end of the episode. The London Eye actually collapses in this version. And there's a lot of other weapons they have. It's not just the guns that, come out of their hands. They can also contort their hands into swords and other weapons. And yeah, it's just, you see the episode in a completely new light reading that. And I just love that. I love the fact that even though the episode is like 14 years old now, my God, I feel old. Even though it's 14 years old, you can still learn new things about it. So, for any of you guys that are interested, please do look into buying this. It's only about £5, and it's a really good read. And it's quite short as well. It's only 200 pages. So if you're someone that doesn't like reading a massive book for a long period of time, you should get through that quite quickly. The Scamp, who is your favourite chaser on The Chase? I think Paul. I think Paul Sinner, the Sinnerman. Just because he's a very funny guy and he seems quite nice as well. Looking for an original username. Can you do a quick review of Daleks in Manhattan? Oh, interesting. Okay, I can try. No doubt it will end up not being quick because I like waffling. So, Daleks in Manhattan was Series 3, Episode 4. Yeah, because Evolution of the Daleks was the following one. Um, so it's not the best Dalek story, at least in my opinion, but I do think loads of people share the same view of me here. But it is one I enjoy. I like the setting of 1920s New York. I like the fact that we see a different side to the Daleks and how they feel like they need to evolve to survive. And I do like Dalek Sec and how he combines with that American human to create this Dalek hybrid, Dalek human hybrid. I love the fact that Andrew Garfield is in it, who many of you guys will know as playing Spider-Man in the Amazing Spider-Man films. That's always something that's fun to see whenever I rewatch the episode. Um, Tallulah is a bit annoying, but is an okay character. Laszlo, I feel sorry for becoming part pig, but I feel sympathy for. Um, in terms of the Daleks themselves, well, I've already talked a bit about the Daleks. If I remember correctly, they do spend most of the episode just talking to the guy that eventually becomes the Dalek human hybrid. Um, but that's fine. It's a part one. It's all meant to be set up anyway. Um, actually, yeah, come to think of it, I really liked the scenery. No, is that what I want to say? Basically, the various settings. So, obviously, I've already said about 1920s New York, but I like how throughout the episode we see the top of the Empire State Building. We go underground in the sewers. That's a cool scene when the pig slaves are chasing after the Doctor and everyone. We see Hooverville, um, and I really enjoyed seeing that theatre place. I'm sure it has a proper name, but I don't know why. I just enjoy how halfway through the episode, the Doctor and everyone climbs out of the sewers, ends up in there, and then the Doctor's trying to work out what the discharge thing is, and then realizes it's Daleks. Oh, that's another thing I like. I quite like the dance number that Tallulah does. It makes for a change, having a bit of a musical moment in an episode. So yeah, overall, I like the episode, but it is probably the weakest two-parter, at least in Series 3. Hopefully that's a decent review. Casey Link, I wonder if the Doctor Who movie has already been cancelled. Yeah, so if you're on about what I think you're on about, that rumoured movie that David Yates, I think that's his name, David Yates, that movie that he was meant to be directing, yeah, there's been no word on that for years. So that has probably just died a death, to be honest. And I hope it has, because I never liked the idea of having a movie that was separate from the canon of the TV show. Magushi, sorry if I've pronounced that wrong. Alternate idea, human 10th Doctor finds his family of blood wife instead of Rose. Discuss. Interesting. I've never thought about that myself. I don't know how exactly he would meet her, considering he's on a parallel Earth in the present day and she's on our Earth in 1914. But I don't know, it's Doctor Who, they could always find a way of meeting. But no, I think I am happy with what we've got. I'm very happy that Joan, I think that's her name, that she remarried and went on to have kids and then grandkids. And then obviously the grandkid met the 10th Doctor on his farewell tour. And I like the fact that Rose has got her own version of the Doctor in the parallel universe. The Scamp, do you have a worst New Who episode? Mine's the Doctor Mysterio episode. Oh, there's many episodes which I think are quite poor. But the worst episode for me is a hard one to answer. I'm gonna say Hellbent. I think it's. Oh, I can't believe I'm saying this. It's not the worst, but it's my least favourite. I think at this moment in time, at least. As I think I've said in many a video now, I dislike the fact that Clara came back. I thought she had such a perfect ending in Face the Raven, and this episode just completely undid that. I thought the Doctor was completely out of character, shooting the General. I felt like Gallifrey was wasted, Rassilon was wasted. The ending was really bad with Clara going off with a shielder, or me, or whatever her bloody name is. I never really was a fan of the Doctor playing the guitar, so I didn't really like how he does that throughout the episode. I also didn't like how the episode was framed by the Doctor and Clara having that conversation in the diner. Yeah, I just didn't like that. I felt like Moffat was trying to be too clever, trying to make the audience think, oh, why is Clara suddenly in the diner talking to the Doctor when she's dead? Yeah, there's just many things about that episode I despise, and it ruins the series for me, to be honest. That is my last impression of Series 9. And yeah, I just don't like it. Looking for an original username. For me, Doctor Mysterio was a fun episode to watch. It wasn't serious and didn't make sense, but I had a lot of fun watching it. Yeah, I agree. I do understand kind of why it's your least favourite episode, The Scamp. But when I went back over and watched as many of the Christmas specials as I could last year, I actually found myself enjoying this episode a lot more than when I first watched it back in 2016. I think I like the standalone nature of it and how. Well, I think I like the superhero aspect. It's the only time Doctor Who has done superheroes, so that does make it feel special. I felt like the characters were good as well. It formed a nice epilogue to the previous Christmas special, The Husbands of River Song. And in a way, dare I say it, but it kind of justified the year-long gap between Doctor Who episodes, because obviously in terms of the story of the show, the in-universe explanation for where the Doctor's been, he's been with River for 24 years on Darillium. So it was kind of good in a way that real life reflected that by us not seeing the Doctor again for a whole year. But then it goes back to what I was saying before. I was not a happy bunny in 2016 not having a new Doctor Who series to look forward to. Oh my god, people are still talking. Wow, thank you. The Scamp would like to see more of Sally Sparrow. Shame they never showed that character again. Yep, completely agree. She was a really good character. Probably one of my favourite female characters in the whole of Doctor Who. Very attractive as well, going back to my answer to a previous question. Which actresses do I fancy? Carey Mulligan, I think that's how you pronounce it. She's gorgeous, and I'd love to marry her. Magushi, have you seen the Stabagful Chibnall episode podcast video? Good listen/watch if you're bored, and pretty funny. Yes, I think I have. I think he's done several, so I'm not sure if I've seen the exact one that you're on about. But the ones I've seen, especially the ones he's done with members of the Five Who fans, I've found them great videos and thoroughly entertaining. Dave H, do you think we'll see Tim Shaw again? I'd like to see the Stenza on their home planet. Not gonna lie, I hope we've seen the last of Tim Shaw now. I do find he had a decent arc in Series 11, and there's no need for him to come back again. But that being said, I would like to see the Stenza planet, just not Tim Shaw. The Scamp, which Doctor Who episodes have actually made you cry? Oh, well, recently, I know I've said this loads of times, so I'm sorry if you've heard this on previous live streams and videos, but Rosa is the most recent episode that has made me cry. Completely unexpected. And a lot of that was down to the ending. I just found it such a beautiful ending to a really good Doctor Who episode. And it just affected me in ways that hardly any other episodes have done. I do feel like a big part of it was the music. The fact that it was the first ever time a song carried over into the end credits. I think I'm right in saying that. Yeah, that really helped the credits to feel like part of the episode, if that makes sense. Like, the story, it's hard to explain. For some reason, I just have this love of credits linking in to the episode. So episodes that do have music that carries across do stand out for me. So Rosa, for instance, Demons of the Punjab, my opinion of them skyrockets just because in the ending they have music that plays from the final scene into the end credits. I don't know why, I'm weird like that. But yeah, so Rosa has made me cry. The End of Time Part 2, probably, because I was a massive David Tennant fan and didn't want him to go. Matt Smith's last episode, Time of the Doctor, I definitely remember crying for that one. In fact, my brother cried as well because Matt Smith was his Doctor. So that was nice, having like a shared crying experience with my brother. Any others? Don't think I cried at Doomsday because I became a fan of the show after that. So I already knew that the show could exist without Rose. I hope I cried for Vincent and the Doctor because that was worthy of my tears. But I really can't remember. It was such a long time ago. Yeah, so mainly Rosa is the big one. I was a mess after Rosa aired. Joel Johnson, sup bro, hello. Casey Link, is it odd that The Girl in the Fireplace is still one of my favourite episodes? Not at all, because it's a really good episode. And for a long time, that was actually my favourite as well. I wouldn't say it's my favourite nowadays, but it's still up there. God knows where. I don't know if it's top 5, top 10, top 20. I've never actually thought about a list, but it is an episode I really respect and admire. Yeah, so it doesn't surprise me at all that it's your favourite. Joel Johnson thinks Kablam is better than Rosa. That's fair enough. Both episodes are good in my opinion, but I think, as I've sort of implied earlier, because Rosa had such an impact on me and told a very real story about a real person in Earth's history, that edges the episode for me. Kablam is a very good sci-fi story, but it doesn't have that edge of a song playing over the credits, being about a historical figure. I know loads of episodes feature historical figures, but not all of them are as emotional as this one. Looking for an original username. Cried at Love and Monsters. Interesting. If you're still here, let me know what part of it made you cry. Dave H, their favourite episode is Midnight. Yes, I adore Midnight, and I think that is my favourite episode as well. It's always that episode and The Waters of Mars that I instantly think of whenever I'm asked what my favourite episode is. But yeah, I just have so much love for Midnight, so it's nice that we agree there. The Scamp, Turn Left is brilliant. Yeah, that's another one I love. Um, just the whole final, is it 6 episodes of series 4? Silence in the Library, Forest of the Dead, Midnight, Turn Left. Yeah, the final 6 stories of series 4. I keep saying this, but I genuinely think it's one of the strongest runs of Doctor Who episodes we've ever had. Silence in the Library is a brilliant two-parter. That's, you know, Moffat at his best with timey-wimey storylines and dream worlds and a brilliant alien planet. Midnight is this brilliant claustrophobic episode that shows that you can do a lot on a low budget. Turn Left is a fantastic what if episode that deals with a parallel universe and really dark themes as well. And then you end the series with a fantastic two-parter with the return of the Daleks and Davros, and basically a Marvel style crossover between Doctor Who, the Sarah Jane Adventures, and Torchwood. What more could you want? So yeah, I really love that. The Scamp is glad that I mentioned Vincent and the Doctor. That always makes me cry. Completely see why, because it is another example of a really good ending to an episode. And then the final message is from Casey Link. My Doctor Who story I'm writing is called The Laughing Cyberman. Does that sound interesting by the name? Yes. And if ever you finish it, send it my way, or I don't know, give me details on how I can purchase it, because I'd love to read that. Okay, a couple more messages. Looking for an original username. I cried when the girl with the fire. I cried when the girl with the glasses died, but maybe because I was younger and didn't realise how bad it actually was, because I'd definitely not cry now. Oh, okay, right, so I think that's Ursula, when she died. I can sort of see why that made you cry. Joel Johnson, it's been a while now, but I'd just like to say I really appreciate the inclusion of my boss, Council of Geeks, in the WhoTube Awards. Oh, is he your boss? I did not know that. Well, it's my pleasure. I'm just really grateful that Council of Geeks was willing to get involved in it, because he is definitely one of the best YouTubers out there. Certainly one of my favourites, and I'm delighted not just that he took part, but that people voted for him to win as well, because he's thoroughly deserving of it. Oh, you're his thumbnail artist. Ah, nice. Well, from the thumbnails I've seen, you do a really good job, so well done. And on that, I think it is time to wrap up, guys. I can't believe we've been going for an hour and a half. It's always crazy how I begin these thinking, oh yeah, I'll only be going for about 10 minutes. And then you guys are so kind and keep the conversation going, keep asking me things, and you keep talking about your lives. And I just really enjoy that. It's really nice. And as I said at the start of the video, I wanted company because I'm currently home alone and bored. And you've definitely entertained me for the past hour and a half. So I really appreciate that. And I hope that you guys have enjoyed yourselves as well. If you did, please give this video a like, because it does mean a lot to me. Otherwise, I just think people don't really enjoy these videos. But yeah, so